Hey, 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 how is it, family? Blackout family, I am so honored and so glad that you all allow me to continue to interview some amazing and wonderful folks. It is the Mrs., aka Pastor Roni, aka your auntie from the cookout. And today, I have the wonderful opportunity of speaking with a beautiful young lady all the way from Uganda. And so, if you will introduce yourself, darling.
Hello, everyone. My name is Clara. I'm a transgender woman under hormonotherapy coming from Uganda, from a region, Eastern region, from an area called Iganga district. It's more of a small area when you come to Uganda. Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Yes, wonderful. Well, Blackout family, if you follow the story, you know that I had the opportunity to interview Clara for the print magazine, well, actually the electronic copy. And we had a wonderful interview, and that one was just done writing back and forth. But I really wanted her to have the opportunity to share her story with you all, because I wanted you to hear really and truly what's happening, and what she has to share with you all in Uganda. So, Clara, if you could share with us a little bit of, really your story, what it's been like for you to come out as a transgender woman in Uganda, and how that's impacted everything that you do, because we know that right now so much is happening.
To be honest, how can I start? First and foremost, starting with my transitioning as a transgender woman, I started with my transitioning, but before I didn't come out, it was before I came out to my family. I kind of spent like 2 months around, no, not 2 months, it was around 5 months on hormones when I just started with my transitioning. So I remember one time I'd gone basically before, like I didn't introduce this before, but then I'm an activist living aside being a transgender woman. I do activism. I fight for our rights as transgender women here in Uganda. So I remember it was one time I'd gone for an awareness session. It was at the end of the awareness session. Then I was still in the hotel. I was trying to check out to go back to my place where I was staying. So just out of the blue, I just had a knock at the door at the hotel room where I was staying. Then opening, it was the police, and it was the police with my family. Basically, that's where I totally came out to my parents. That's why I accepted and told them the reality of who I am, and they came to know the reality of me. But it wasn't something that I'd planned before, because personally with me, I was more like trying to prepare them to tell them at the particular time where I feel they are ready to know about me. But then it so happened that out of the blue, they got to know when I felt it wasn't the right time for them to know. So when they came, it wasn't really good, to be honest. I was arrested. I was embarrassed. So many words were said when I was being taken. Actually, they used a police patrol to take me to the police station. I spent almost like a week in the police cells. And there they were more of trying to prove, they wanted to show me, or they wanted to remind me that, you know what, Clara, this is not you. But then the reality is the other person. They wanted to show me that you're not supposed to be this. That's what they were trying to do. But then after the week I spent at the cells, they took me home. It was more of like, I would say, being grounded, detention. They confiscated my phone. They broke my lines. They took out all my hormones. They made sure I had no access to anybody, to the community that could really understand me and appreciate me the way I am. It was really, really terrible. Whenever I get to think of the moments that I went through when I was at home, I sometimes I get to break down, but then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I try to use this to be my strength, that Clara, I've gone through this. I know this is the reality. So I need to use this, the experience that I've been through, to make sure it doesn't happen to some other person who's just like me. So at the end of the day, when I get to think about the things I've gone through when I was coming out, it kind of becomes my strength to give me a push to go forward. But then on the other hand, it made a good impact in a way that it kind of relieved a burden off me, because I was like, okay, how would I come out to my parents? How do they know that, okay, this is me? And how would they react? But then at some particular point when they came to me, I was like, okay, at least, yeah, now they have known this is me, so life can go on. Yes.
Wow. I'm going to tell you, I mean, just since we had the opportunity to be in touch, your story has just touched me so much. And just sharing that, here in the United States, we really are still in a fight as well for our rights, but so often we don't appreciate what's happening all over the world. And so that's why I really felt like it was important for you to have an opportunity. And thank you for sharing that, because wow, what a painful thing to imagine that, the way to come out to your parents, you're being arrested. I mean, my goodness gracious. And then to be forced to be in an environment that does not allow you to be who you are. Now, you mentioned that you are an activist, and I know that you have an organization there in Uganda. Would you tell us the name of that and share a little bit about what you all do?
The name of the organization is called Youth Rights Alliance. It's an organization aiming at promoting the rights of people like me, transgender persons, and then transgender sex workers. And then it's aiming at bridging the gaps that we people face when it comes to access to HR services, the sexual and reproductive health. It could be even hormonal therapy to people who want to also go on with their transitioning with their hormonal therapy. Yeah, so basically that's what the organization is all about.
And I mean, that's amazing, right? Because so often we live in a day and a time where we're just concerned about ourselves. And so powerful that you would utilize your own story and that it inspires you to help others. And so I surely applaud you for that. Now, I told our audience that really right now you are facing some tremendous burdens there in Uganda. And so I really want for you to share with us what has happened that has made things even worse for you there. And then what does that mean for what is happening with you personally right now?
I remember it was this year around March. That's when this whole saga it all started up with a bill, the Parliament wanting to table the anti-homosexuality bill in Parliament to pass it. That's when it all started up. And it also came up with the religious leaders that were all putting in more pressure and then putting in more fire so this the bill is tabled or to be passed by the Parliament. And then, yeah, it came to their favor, it was passed. So it kind of affected me personally with my work as an activist and with person who's running an organization. It really affected me so much that given this bill, it meant that personally as me as a transgender person, I've become the target of this bill. And then given the fact that I'm doing the kind of work protecting our rights, it meant that it would kind of breach or mean that I'll be more of being impacted to this bill. That basically it also had implications, penalties, where they were saying one a tenant or a landlord are found with sheltering somebody who is, okay, to them in court, somebody who is more to be part of the LGBT community or who is suspected to be, there was a penalty of 5 years imprisonment to that landlord. And then a person who is running an organization, there is a penalty of 100, they said 100 million something for a human rights organization. And then they said someone who's running a community-based organization, there was also a penalty for imprisonment that was for 20 years imprisonment. So it really affected that. One, it impacted fear in we people who are doing that kind of work. Personal, as in me as a transgender person, it really impacted me so much that okay, how can I say it? First and foremost, with my movements, they were limited. That's one thing I should say. But now coming out, okay, by then before the bill, you could try to build your self-esteem and move that, okay, people are not even more focused about it, but now the bill is there. People are now talking about it. You get, okay, if I move out, when people look at me, when people get to tell I'm a transgender woman, so the way it affected me so much, it limited my movements. And then it kind of lowered my self-esteem. And that really affected my work because at the end of the day, I had an organization and I have people who are looking up to me. But then if I told Clara I'm breaking down, then how about people who are supposed to look up to me for strength? So that really affected me so much.
I mean, I just only because sometimes we as Americans aren't paying attention, I really want to pull out key words that you said there. You're talking about sheltering someone who is a part of our community, the danger of imprisonment, running an organization that supports our community, the endangerment of imprisonment. I mean, guys, I really want you to hear and listen to what she's saying right now. Everything that she does is impacted. Being a professional, okay, being able to, stand up and speak for our community. Everyone who is around her is impacted by that. Clara takes in others, and now to have your own identity questioned, and really to have to operate from a place of fear. Here in the United States, we live in my family and I live in the South. And we think about our safety. It is one of those things that the safety is an issue here in the South, especially because we are people of color. But we generally, that's not on our mind. My spouse and I were out this morning, at an event, and we were walking and we were holding hands. And then, especially because we talk about, oftentimes our struggle is with the religious community, but like you said, this has come from Parliament. This has come from the government of Uganda. They have put these laws in place that put you physically at risk of being imprisoned. That is, unimaginable, really, right? We know that there have been times in history where countries all over the world have done those kinds of things. But here in the United States, we are experiencing freedom. And, to imagine that in 2023, now in some places, things are getting even more restrictive. Like you said, that, at one time it was sort of already, there was that feeling in the community, but now for it to be on the books changes the trajectory of everything. And Clara, I know that you have mentioned, and you and I have spoken, you've talked about the housing issue being a concern for you. And so, what's happening with that right now? Do you have some more time that you can stay where you are, or is that time coming to a close? What's happening with that?
So how it started, it was, as I told you earlier on, that I'm an activist. I've been doing a lot of work. So in part of that work, it was more of meeting policymakers, meeting stakeholders, to talk more about human rights, to see on how we can pave on how at least we as transgender person can enjoy our rights. But then when this bill came in, it also exposed me more the fact that I've been meeting these people. And then they know me to an extent, even people we used to think are our allies. When this bill came in, there was very, very people who are now changing their backs on us to an extent that some of them are people outing us in the community. So it's
Oh no. Well,
happened that where I was staying, some of those people knew me. So that's how the information started coming up, people knowing them having an organization. So rumors came to my landlord. So it was in him to evacuate or to leave the premises. So it's more like pressure from the community telling my landlord to leave. So every time I'm receiving calls, sometimes I get to tell him, you know what, I'm not around, I'm this. So it has put me on pressure to an extent I can't move out. The fact that I told my landlord I'm not around, I have to keep indoors, not my landlord not to see me around. So it's the only way I'm surviving at the moment. The fact that the landlord knows I'm not around, but yet I'm inside.
to not even be able to leave your home, but then to have to say that, I'm not here, just because you're trying to hold on to a place to lie down at night.
Not really,
It's
really
one of
easy.
those
And
things. Yeah.
it's really affecting my mental health. That I won't lie. And the fact that I'm on hormonal therapy, when you're in that therapy, at times even they tell us that you don't need to be stressed, you don't need to have things that kind of depress you because it's really more of a strong therapy that I'm taking. But then when I get to think about all that, it really breaks me down. And at the times you get to find that even the therapy is not working, that I'm forced to being told that, you know what, Clara? you should stop taking the therapy for some time until you feel you're better again to take the therapy.
My
So that's
gosh, I'm telling you, your story, I mean, my heart is just breaking for you. I want you to know that just in our time that we've gotten to know each other, I admire you. I love you because you are a powerhouse. And so, I hope that you can hold on to that. I can't imagine some of the things that you're going through, in the community here, we often talk about well, I may have lost my biological family. They may have turned their back on me. But I have my community, the family that I've built around me. But we know that, individual safety is a concern. And so, like you said, as the community is putting pressure on others, those places that you thought were even safe aren't anymore. And so I think that we really have to hear that. Honestly, I really, of course, because I'm like, oh, well, there must be some sort of, assistance out there for you. And we know that there is a particular organization that does help those who are in other countries that are unsafe for the LGBTQIA plus community. And I mentioned that to you one time. Could you share a little bit of what's happened with that and what you've tried to do?
right. So basically, I tried reaching out to human rights organizations, but then it's happening. But now there's so many requests that are really coming, that so many people are really putting in so many requests for support. But then you get to find the process that is being used to verify it could be cases. I don't know whether it could be the one that is taking slow, but then at times you get to apply to them. Sometimes you get responses, sometimes you don't get responses. So, yeah.
So please know that, if we just think about, I mean, I always tell people sort of, the LGBTQIA plus community. Oh, we're a small community. We're small in number in comparison to, those who are living what others would consider the standard life experience, right? And so these organizations are there, but they also need support from us guys, because guess what? The numbers are growing in communities around the world where it is unsafe for our people. And so that is the reason that I really, I did the interview with Clara, and it came out in BLAQUEOUT, and I was very excited. But there was also some contact information there because right now where Clara is, she needs help. You certainly have heard her share. She's not really able to leave her home. Where she does live currently, her landlord is being pressured, and she's trying to sort of maneuver through that to at least keep a place to live right now. You have heard how it's impacting her mental health. And so my thing is not just let's hear her story and think, oh my goodness, that's so sad. If I had the money, I would fly her right here to North Carolina, and she could live with us, and we would just go on and save the world. But in order for her voice to continue to be heard, she needs help. Okay. I don't believe in, begging or doing those kind of things, but she is doing the work. She's doing the work that a lot of us are not even willing to do. And we live here in the United States. We aren't necessarily out there being activists and fighting for the rights of those in our community, but she's doing it in a country where they have said, you could even go to prison. And so I really want you guys, dig deep in your heart. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, bottom line is every dollar counts. My pastor used to say, honey, we'll take a penny if you got it, because whatever we have to share to help our sister in Uganda, we know already it's not just going to be a blessing to her, but it's going to be a blessing to others because that's the kind of woman she is. She is a powerhouse. And let's make sure that she's in a safe space, and that her voice continues to be heard. So, Clara, if you could share with us how we can get resources to you, how people can assist you, how they can even contact you. Guys, I've downloaded WhatsApp. I've heard about WhatsApp for years, never even downloaded it, but I love her so much. I was like, I got to figure out how we can talk faster. And so I downloaded the WhatsApp. So how can we get in touch with you to help you?
So apparently, as an organization, as I told Aaron with our conversations right before, we've been receiving a small donations, and this has been coming through our Word Limit app, whereby it has been simpler to ask you as personally as a team leader. I've been having a challenge with my national ID. It's been failing me to access a bank account with so many questions given my identity. So I found it more easier, given this money just comes direct to me. So it's more easier for me to receive it on my phone. So I've been using directly my phone number that I'm having. That's why I've been receiving these small donations that have been coming in to help us get food at home, cater for the bills at home. Even apparently, we used to be like 6 people here where I'm staying right now, but now we're forced to remain 3. We had to let go of 3, as what 2 of them on hormonal therapy, but then we had to let go of them, given the fact that even that kind of stopped taking hormonal therapy for the fact that it's now hard to access hormones given what's happening now. Everything is being targeted. Of recent, actually, they're trying to pass out, rumors are going on that want to retable. It could be what a transgender anti kind of bill where it also implicates the transgender person when it comes to identity. So it's really so much a lot that's going on. So, but then with donations, I've been receiving them through that personal number that I'm using.
So, family, okay, you heard what she said. So, she's trying to receive that information. Okay. And so if you are interested, please make sure that you either reach out to myself, or the information will be posted through BLAQUEOUT, so that we can get some donations to her. Okay. We want to continue to keep up with what's going on with you, darling. I hope this is just the first of many, so that we can continue to follow your story, continue to hear, because I really do believe that the possibility is that the victory is on the other side. And we know that when, any of us are hurt, we're all hurt. When any of us win, we all win. And so we want to continue to hear the story, so that we can follow and help along the way. We want to be helping hands, not idle hands. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate your willingness to share. I really do. I want you to know that we as a community here, we're going to do what we can to make sure that your story gets out, so that you are safe, that you are healthy, and that you can continue to do the work that you do, you beautiful soul. Okay?
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you too. I want to thank the viewers. I want to thank everybody that is doing the little they can to support us, the prayers, the solidarity. To be honest, it's really a hard situation. It's a trying moment for us, I would say, given the political crisis we're going in, that we're being targeted by the government. It's more like, we are citizens of the country, but then it's like we're living like prisoners in our own country. But then at the end of the day, when it comes to elections, that means I have a right to go and vote. So if at all I'm voting a leader, that means I'm a citizen. But then it's really hard. But I want to thank you, people. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the prayers.
All right.
I love
Well,
you.
I love you too, darling. We'll be in touch soon. Okay? All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Another opportunity the Missus has had to interview another amazing soul who is a part of our community. I hope that you all will jump in. Now is the time. It's not just about words, it's about action. Take care. Until next time. Bye-bye. Uh-oh. Wait.